No, I have, but or we could use it as.
I hope the media will pick up. Bring one for the Chipper Day, which we always do, in which we ask the citizens to bring their Christmas trees to the each year and get them recycled, so to speak. This year it will be January the 5th, Saturday, January 5th. So if you have anything, any Christmas trees there you'd like to get rid of, and do so in an appropriate way and environmentally sound way, and bring them here. That will be, is that going to be here at City Hall or where?
Bowling Park parking lot.
Bowling Park parking lot. Okay, Bowling Park parking lot on January the 5th. So hopefully everyone can do that to dispose of the tree. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Second. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members vote for the motion. Any other? We have a 10-minute public input period. If any others want to speak that haven't spoken. Okay, we don't have anyone else, I don't think, signed up on that, so we will continue to move. Consent agenda, the items to consider for the consent agenda, and I will read those. The approval of the December the 20th council, I think we need to approve those minutes first. I think we need to approve those, and then that shouldn't be for our consent agenda. We need to, in the future, I think, separate that to a line item to be approved, the minutes. Would you agree with that? Because what this says is approval of, under the consent items to consider, but we need to go ahead and approve those December 20th minutes before we move to the next meeting, I think. So I'll entertain a motion to approve those December the 20th minutes if they're in order as they are in your package. Have a motion, to have a second. Let's have a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion to approve the minutes. So that leaves another item, the acknowledgement of the FY. We have the acknowledgement of FY 2012 November financials are in your packet. If you have any questions there, we'll have Nathan come up and write us any questions. If not, let's move forward. Under old business, we have the update on the zoning portion of the draft of the Unified Development Code. Mr. Wood?
Yes, I believe you had asked Mr. Patton to provide an update on that Unified Development Code draft, and he's got that presentation ready to present to you.
Is this a long presentation?
Just about eight pages.
Let me ask something here if we can. I honestly believe that we need to do that at a separate meeting. That's my opinion. I think we need to get together and do it. Now, I don't know what the rest of you think, but I think there could be a lot of questions and answers and discussion and so forth on that. Now, it's up to you, but I would entertain a motion that we move that and to a point and ask our city manager to schedule a work session independently for just that purpose.
So moved.
Have motions. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members vote for the motion. Thank you again. We will hang on to what you got there because you will need it. Yeah, because I think we do need to work that.
I was just trying to comply with the wishes of mayor and council.
I know you were.
Requested in November that I come this month.
And if this meeting hadn't run as long as it has already, we would have gladly sit and listen to that. Okay. Discussion regarding renewal of contract for the auction of city surplus assets with Jeff Dobson and Associates.
You've got a draft contract. We have done business with this firm for, prior to my coming here, at least for the last 3 years. Have had a satisfactory relationship, satisfactory work product. Would recommend that you approve. That is for a 3-year term, and the reason for the 3-year term is they do not charge us for any fee at all for vehicles that are sold. We haven't sold very many vehicles, but if we include vehicles, we don't pay them any fee at all. So I think it's a good arrangement for the city.
We'll move this to our next meeting. We don't need to vote on it this time. Right. Under a new business, discussion of the vision for Canton and hiring an economic development director, Mr. Bryan.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna just abbreviate this because we are running late. We are currently developing a job description for the director, and several of us on the council, or at least 2, we're going to an all-day seminar on this next Wednesday to be held by the Georgia Department of Economic Development. We're moving forward on that, and we're very excited about it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Discussion of the ordinance to amend Canton Code Section 6.5C by removing sentence forbidding Sunday alcohol sales. I think this is sort of a housekeeping type.
It is. When we added the Sunday package sales, elsewhere in the code, it said Sunday sales were prohibited.
We have a motion. Oh, that's right. We can't do that until next time.
This is just the first reading of that.
Yeah, this first reading. Okay. Discussion of the appointment of the acting city manager for 2013, Mr. Wood.
It is my responsibility as city manager to nominate a person to be approved by city council to act as city manager. I think it says as chief administrative officer, I think is the language in the charter, in the absence of the city manager, and my nomination for that responsibility will be to Nathan Ingram.
Okay. So we'll move that along to the next meeting as well. Statement regarding property taxes, Mr. Bryan.
Yes, sir. I'll make this short and sweet as well. Several weeks ago, some of us on the council drafted a letter and sent it to a taxpayer and replied to the letter he had sent to us. We sent a number of copies around to every committee member that we could find, and anybody else that's interested can certainly look at it. I just want to correct one statement. In there, we had said that the property taxes have not been raised. It was pointed out in 5 years, it was pointed out that is incorrect, and that actually on September the 17th, 2009, we raised them from 5.9 mils to 6.8 mils. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, in that letter, I'll call it the Mr. Yagi letter, I found the response that was sent out to have, as one council member would say, a lot of misinformation. And I'd like to address the differences that I have with that letter in one particular area.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if that's appropriate to the that one statement that I was to discuss, but I have discussed. I'd like to point out Mr. Cummins was invited to participate in that letter and he declined.
I don't have any recollection of being asked to participate in that letter. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
Again, I do have the floor. What was brought out or suggested to be brought out tonight, Mr. Bryan did circulate to us a statement he was going to make, and in that statement he does say, due to decreasing property values, and this is the statement that he has set as an agenda item, that the city tax revenues are down 2.3 million over the past 3 years, and that was the only issue that I was intending to address tonight. I don't agree with that statement. I have actual numbers. The actual his increase that he did talk about was a 14.3% increase in September of '09 from 5.95 mils to 6.8. But using 2009 as his base year, the city has actually collected $1,498,804 more revenues, not a 2.3 million decline. And no year since 2009 have the revenues been less than they were in 2009. And in every year since 2009, including 2009, there's been a surplus of revenue against expenditure. So the strain on our budget is that we didn't have enough money. There was extra money, the lowest amount being 500,000, the highest amount being a surplus of 1,567,000. The other point that I want to make is every member of this council, except Mr. Huffman and myself, could have increased taxes if they thought it was needed. So to say we didn't have it, that was the choice of the council members here, except with Mr. Huffman and myself. And these numbers are available to anyone who will email me a request, and it's my intention to respond to the Aggie letter to everybody that received it, putting out a different perspective or a different position. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, now that he's brought that up, I do need to correct what's
Excuse me, that's,
Mr. Mayor, I only have one comment to Mr. Cummins' comments that any member of council could have raised taxes. I think he is quite aware that it takes at least 4 votes to raise taxes, and at several points along the way, some people have suggested raising taxes, but the mood of the council wasn't there, so for him to say anyone could raise taxes is incorrect.
Well, anyone can oppose it is probably a better word.
okay.
Yes, sir, we were referring to property tax revenues in that they are down 2.3 million in billed property taxes over the last 3 years. I've got to explain it right here.
Thank you.
Collections from billed property taxes are never 100%. Further property reassessments and delinquent payments do result in less than 100% collection or do delay collection until later years. The actual cash impact due to declining property values for the last 4 years has approached $2 million in cash revenue lost. The 2.3 million does represent what we would have collected had we remained revenue neutral. But because the property value is declining in FY09, we levied $5,551,000. In 10, we levied $5,054,000. That's a decline. In 2011, we levied $4,813,000. That's a decline. In 12, $4,457,000. That's a decline. Lost revenue, potential lost revenue, $2,329,997. This is straight from our city records. I don't know where those numbers he's got are coming from, but I got it right from the, well, that's where I got mine, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry we're wasting everybody's time on this stuff. I have made the correction that counts, and that is we mistakenly said that we had not raised taxes. We did on September 17th, and we can debate this all you want to, but I've got the facts here. And again, anybody that wants them can come to me or come to the CFO.
Mr. Mayor, to bring this to a head, because we probably will want to know more about that in our budgeting meetings coming up in a few months. But I would like to ask the city manager if he would, with Mr. Ingram, kind of give us fact versus truth versus not truth. Can we put that together? I'm sure everybody's looked at some reports and assuming they're looking at it correctly. I would prefer not to look at any one of the council members. I prefer coming from you and Mr. Ingram.
We don't have any spin now, do we? No spin.
That's
Just the facts. That's the facts. Right.
I want to be sure please, I understand exactly what information it is that council would want. What are the questions you would like for us to ask?
Well, I guess, Mr. Wood, is in the response letter that was sent to Mr. Kennedy is that, you know, taxes have not increased or our revenue hasn't increased. And I think I heard you right, Mr. Cummings, you're saying revenue did increase.
No, just to give you, just quick.
I don't need the numbers.
I have them from the.
Well, I don't need them. I don't need them. What I'm asking is, did I understand you correctly?
The revenues have increased every year from 2009, total revenues.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
And I think the question, if I understood what maybe the point that Mr. Bryan may have been trying to raise was what revenue would have been collected had you maintained revenue neutrality as a result of digest decline.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be true, but that, assuming you raise the millage rate to revenue neutral, that could be.
Correct.
Both these gentlemen could be correct.
Correct, yes.
Both can be correct, but we're looking at it from a different way.
Yeah, if we did this would be the case.
That's right, but
the statement as it is made is incorrect. The revenues.
that will make me, but all I'm saying is,
Right.
when I heard your statement, which was completely reverse of what it is, I said, no, I want a better answer.
We'll certainly send out the corrections if anything that we stated was incorrect. Our intent was to make the point that declining property values have reduced our property value tax revenue back.
Okay. Okay, next item, discussion and first reading of amendment to Code Section 2.35 relating to the mayor's staff, attachment A. This was the, what I believe to be the agreement that Mr. Beresford and Mr. Bryan and I had talked about, and what I believe to be what was discussed and voted on in the last meeting. So it's out there. So do with it something, do with it nothing, or whatever you want to do.
That's the first reading.
Okay, so I guess we will just bring it, transfer it on to the meeting.
Can I take just a few minutes? We've been talking about a lot of different things. I think there's a lot of confusion about charter amendments and ordinances, and readings and adoptions. To do a charter amendment, we have to follow state law. State law says you have to adopt it twice. You actually have to vote twice.
Yes.
There is no first and second reading. There's actually a vote and a second vote. It says it has to be voted at 2 consecutive regular meetings. Now, the position I've taken in the way we've done these charter amendments is that you wouldn't vote either of adoptions at a work session, because our ordinance actually calls one a regular meeting and one a work session. So to make those two fit, the state law and our ordinances, I've thought that it has to be voted on at the third Thursday meetings, which we call regular twice. So tonight would just be discussion, in my opinion.
So we would transfer this to the next council meeting
Or the
or
first
make
adoption.
first vote,
The first vote.
not a reading.
Correct. At that point, you would
And we need to
vote,
clarify that in the next agenda as well.
and it's for a first adoption at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the way we do other ordinances is just 2 readings, which is a whole different thing.
Okay. Any questions, comments, anything on that, or move on? Okay. Item F, discussion on first reading of budget amendment to eliminate funding for the mayor's administrative assistant, Councilman Beresford and Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have an attachment 9 that was emailed out to us either this morning or last night, I think it was. And we have already voted twice, gone through the process of the charter change and overridden the veto to eliminate the mayor's staff. At this point, this amendment to the budget that you have simply is a housekeeping measure to eliminate the funding for that position. I want to make it very clear, we have been over backwards to make sure that the position is still funded through the current occupants, Ms. Fowler's retirement vesting date, which is January the 9th, and I think we actually made this effective the 11th. So she will be fully vested. The funding for the position will stop then.
Okay, is that,
So this is the first, because this is not a charter change, this is the first reading that does not require a vote. It'll require a vote next meeting, correct, Bob? Correct. Thank you.
is the effective date on this ordinance? Did I miss it?
It wouldn't be effective until it's voted, so the earliest it could be effective is next meeting.
Okay, and then it would be subject to a
Veto.
10-day veto period, just as the stormwater transfer is. Okay, just want to make that clear. Okay. City manager, anything else on that? City manager's report?
Three things, right quick. These notes were put together before Mr. Bryan's comments about the meeting in Atlanta, so if you'll excuse me for that point. But you're all aware of the joint meeting we're having on Wednesday of next week with the Cobb Marietta Water Authority beginning at 11:30 here at City Hall. I think, at least when I put this note together, that most of you were planning on attending. That meeting is the second of what we are hoping will become annual updates on the reservoir. Keith Lee, our operations manager, will present most of our program material along with input from Dave Atavian, Glenn Page, and myself. You will have both time and opportunity for as many questions and as much discussion as you feel necessary and helpful to understanding where we are in the construction process and as we enter the transition to a fully operating reservoir complex. I understand that most, if not all, of the Cobb Marietta Board is planning on being here, so I hope it will be a productive and informative meeting. After we scheduled that meeting, we learned that the Cherokee County Development Authority had also scheduled an orientation meeting in Atlanta on the same day for their 2 new board members and other persons from throughout the county who have particular interest or involvement in economic development programs. We were only invited to that meeting as an afterthought when some of the Development Authority staff learned that we had developed or were developing some greater interest in economic development. Some of you have from Mr. Bryan's comments, have expressed an interest in that meeting also. So you folks decide where you can best serve the city interest. I hope certainly hope we will have a respectable representation here for our reservoir meeting. But if you'll let Donna Bell know where you're going to be on that day, it'll help us for planning purposes. But that meeting on the reservoir will be at 11:30 here at City Hall, Wednesday of next week. Then another meeting, and I guess we'll have a third one to this for Mr. Patton's presentation, but another meeting at which we need your involvement will be held on the following Wednesday. That'll be Wednesday week, 2 weeks from yesterday. Also beginning at 11:30 here and also at City Hall. Ms. Stanton will be appropriately advertising both of those because obviously they'll be public meetings. And I think you might have got notices on that second meeting today. We want to be able at that meeting to go into extensive detail and to encourage as much inquiry and questioning as you consider necessary on our sewer plant expansion plans and also the Harmon Field lift station situation. You're going to need to make some major decisions within the coming weeks about both of those projects, and since they are complicated and expensive, we want to provide you reasonably in-depth background and the opportunity for as much discussion and deliberation as necessary before those decisions are made. So if you'll confirm to Donna both of those based on your intentions, that would be helpful. One other thing, Nathan, can you come up here for 1 second, please? I want to just make a quick staff presentation to our CFO. The Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has again been awarded to the City of Canton by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for our comprehensive annual financial report, acronym we refer to as CAPR, for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2011. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. Our CAPR has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, including demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure, to clearly communicate its financial story, and to motivate potential users and user groups to read our CAPR. Nathan and his staff do a good job, and I think our CAPR is looking better every year thanks to their hard work. And I wanted council to be aware of this and part of this presentation. So, thank you, Nathan.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Williams.
Okay. Any other items on the agenda? I don't have any myself, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I do have a question of concern.
Okay.
You've alluded to a couple of times that something about you might not approve the stormwater vote and the parks vote. I'd like to know where you stand. It's not like something all of a sudden came out of the blue on you. We've been talking about this for many years, and you're going to say yes or no. What are you going to do?
Thank you,
You
Mr.
gonna
Mayor,
veto?
for it. A lot of things have come out of the blue from different areas recently, and so it's just, I will do the duty that I'm expected to do in this office, and I assume that the city manager will notify you when that's done. Any other
I
discussion?
appreciate you holding this hostage. Thank you, sir.
What?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion, do you have a second? All those in favor?